or afternoon. Good afternoon. It is later in the day. Sorry for the delay, but was not able to get to our daily focus early. But I wanted to at least share with you the daily focus from Psalm 25. We're going to start reading in verse number 8. Yesterday we left off with verse number 7, and we want to read verses 8 through 12. It says, "Good and upright is the Lord. Therefore will he teach sinners in the way. The meek will he guide in judgment, and the meek will he teach his way. All the paths of the Lord are mercy and truth unto such as keep his covenant and his testimonies. For thy name's sake, O Lord, pardon my iniquity, for it is great. What man is he that feareth the Lord? Him shall he teach in the way that he shall choose." I have entitled this one, Meekness and Respect. Have you ever asked yourself the question, why is it so hard for me to learn the lessons? Why is it that it takes me so long to understand God's plan and purposes? Why is it that these simple disciplines just don't get through my thick head? Why is it that I keep making the same mistakes over and over again? Why is it that I just don't learn? Whatever it is, you have frustrations. I have frustrations. We all have frustrations in our Christian walk. And David here is zeroing in on two things that are absolutely necessary in the believer's life if they're going to experience a teachable moment, if they're going to let God teach them his way. And so we find it right off the bat in verse number 9, where it says, "The meek will he guide in judgment, and the meek will he teach his way." And some of the reasons why we don't stay in step with God is because we want what we want. Some of the reasons why we don't stay in God's will and walk in step with him and sometimes run ahead of him or sometimes lag behind him is because we have too high an opinion of our own selves. We have figured everything out in our own agenda, and we have convinced ourselves that there is a way that seems right, and I know it, and I have found it, and God needs to agree with me regarding it. And none of that is meek. Meekness has been described as strength under control. In other words, just because I can do some things doesn't mean I should. And what I have to be able to do in meekness is realize that there is a right way to handle something and there is a wrong way to handle something. And just because I have the authority to do something, just because I have the ability to do something, and just because I think that it is right to do something, doesn't mean I should do that. And what I need at that moment is God to guide my decisions, for God to guide my judgments, what it is that I'm going to do in this situation. Every parent understands that there are some things that need to be addressed with their children. We sometimes talk about pick your battles, pick the arena of your battles, pick the timing of your battles. And all of those things are important aspects to parenting. It's really important parts of leadership. And they are rooted in meekness. In other words, knowing when I'm supposed to do what I'm supposed to do. And God promises to guide us in our decisions, but he only guides the meek. If you think you have life already figured out, then you don't think you need God. If you think that you've got this and you don't need to ask God, you don't need to walk with God, you're just going to handle it. There is a way that seems right unto a man, but the ends thereof are the ways of death. And we need to make sure that we realize that we will run ourselves straight to destruction if we are not bathing the decisions we need to make in prayer, if we're not walking in a constant attitude of prayer, if we are not being led by the Spirit of God and walking in the Spirit so that we don't fulfill the lust of our flesh, that's what meekness is all about. And then he goes on to say, the paths of the Lord are mercy and truth. In other words, as we are walking in the will of God, as we are doing and fulfilling the purposes of God for our lives, that there is a need for mercy, because we're weak and we often fail, but there is an absolute truth that is unwavering and it's unchanging. And this is the way we are to walk. This is where we're supposed to walk, and this is why we're supposed to do what we're doing. And nothing is ever going to change that. That is truth. And we're going to need God's mercy, because no matter whether or not we completely understand that truth, we completely can wrap our minds around that truth, or even fully understand what we do with that truth is never going to change. It's rooted in the very person of who Christ is. And so when we look at the rest of this, it says, what is man? What man is he that feareth the Lord? Him shall he teach in the way that he shall choose. In other words, there's this idea of respecting God, letting God be God, and understanding who I am. And I'm not God. I'll never be God. I'm not as smart as God. I'm not as powerful as God. I have so many weaknesses and so many frailties. I need God in who he is. And I need to recognize God for who he is and let him rule and be my authority in his rightful place, as I understand my place. And my place is a place of submission and being conformed to his image and his character as he takes me through the different parts of life. And so Psalm 25 is a great psalm, and it reminds us that we are absolutely in need of God to teach us and to guide us and to direct us. But if we're going to be teachable, if we're going to be taught, we have to exercise meekness and respect towards God, and an understanding of how that relates to others. May God bless you. I hope this is a help to you. I'll look forward to seeing you again tomorrow.